priority 27, which is the Redondo Way Sidewalk Project. There is a request to elevate and complete that priority. Priority number 17, the Redondo Area Parking Management Plan. There is a request to complete and raise the priority on that one as well. And that one kind of really focused on the public's desire to get the paid parking more formalized down in Redondo and try to get a little more control on the parking situation. And then the third comment that came in is priority number 47, which is Redondo Beach Drive sidewalk. Same as the other ones, elevate and complete those as well. And that's all the public comment that I received to date for the TIP for the public hearing tonight. And just for the next steps, like I just mentioned, the public hearing will take place this evening. And then after that will be plan adoption and formal submittal to the state. And I wanted to kind of leave the rest of the time open for questions and answers on the TIP here.
Wow.
Oh, we got a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Harris. I'll let you go first.
Well, no, I mean, well, okay, fine. I'm just wondering I'm still unclear as to what Redondo Area Parking Management Plan entails. Is it integrated with replacing the hardware at the marina, or are they considered, you know, a la carte items? Yeah.
So the Redondo Parking Management Plan kind of really focuses on the parking lot itself, as well as parking along Redondo Way and South 282nd Street and portions of Soundview Drive. So it's actually very specific to Redondo in general, kind of its own project outside of, say, anything up in the North Marina. And this is something that was identified in a Redondo Parking Management Plan study that was completed 2 to 3 years ago. So kind of a broad-based look at, you know, what do we do with parking in the Redondo core area, if you want to call it.
Okay, well, you just mentioned paid parking, so I just wondered if that was part of this piece.
Yeah, part of this project would look at, you know, doing paid parking on our streets down there outside of just the parking lot itself. So on Redondo Way, et cetera, we would look at, okay, what does this paid parking zone look like and how far does that go?
Okay, I guess my only, no, in fact, no, I get it. Thank you very much.
So the one thing is are we going to be talking about these tonight at all, of these public comments?
So the public comments, I'm basically informing, you know, the committee here, and I'll also inform the full council of the public comments. And then, you know, my recommendation is if the council chooses to reprioritize those priorities, that can happen, or redefine them, that can happen. You know, my recommendation as a city engineer on those priorities, I think they're okay where they sit. There's not a lot of, say, grant money to really elevate them and try to get them completed a lot sooner. I think the priority 17, the Redondo Area Parking Management Plan, I think just with the nexus of the fishing pier and the restroom replacement, I think those projects are kind of going to be the catalyst for you know, any type of reprioritization for that project. I think, you know, working on the parking system and the parking lot / the streets are going to be hand in hand with those other capital improvements. But other than that, you know, I don't really have a recommendation to move those projects currently where they sit in the TIP, unless council wanted to take different action on that.
You brought up a good point about the money. I mean, part of what we're doing in priority, like the Safe Routes to School, like on 24th, where we're getting 80% of it funded by, you know, the state. That gives us a hell of an incentive to get it done. In addition, I'm kind of your accord there because of the fact that we're replacing the fishing pier, we're moving the bathrooms, we're changing the access to the beach. We're going to be spending millions of dollars down there over the next few years, and getting the funding for that seems like and integrating the parking piece and some others in tangent with that, so it doesn't makes sense to move those forward when we most likely can't even finance them.
Yeah,
Is
and
that, would be that a correct assumption?
yeah, and I think the financing is the big key. And these projects, the two sidewalk projects, the Redondo Way sidewalk project and the Redondo Beach Drive sidewalk project, these comments in the TIP come up pretty much every year since I've been here. So I do, with those comments happening annually, I do try to keep my eye out for any type of grant opportunity in which we could maybe push those projects faster, because I think they're great projects. It's just they're very hard to find money and they're not inexpensive projects to build. They're pretty big in themselves. So I try to still keep an eye on them, even if we don't move them in priority.
And it seems just to make sense to get the other priorities, which are higher, done first before we look at that. So, Matt, do you have any thoughts?
Well, the other thing that's a little complicated about Redondo parking is that it is more than the parking lot. And I can envision more community discussion because it's like when you're talking more than the parking lot, then you're impacting streets. So do you have a local permit? Do they have extra permits? Are you not doing? I don't know that we have the answers to that, Brandon, do we at this time?
Well, that's a good point, is that it also involves an enforcement piece, because we want to not negatively impact the neighborhood if you're going to charge for on-street parking. And so that parking plan does include the needed element of enforcement, especially if you get out and charge on the right of way. Right now, we have sort of a first step usage of signs that it is effective, but certainly we could be more effective with a comprehensive approach. I would also like to add that, just for the committee's understanding, I know some of you already do understand, but there's 91 projects, and the real test, or the real focus as we develop the CIP, which is financially constrained, is we're going to be looking more or less at these the top 25 or so projects have sort of the eye to get into the CIP. And that's where projects become real with a timeline and a funding source. And so that's where we spend a lot of our efforts as we develop the capital improvement plan. The 6-year plan is focusing on those upper tier projects. But we do keep this larger list, as Andrew mentioned, grants. We keep an eye out on grants that could be out there. And if you got to have a project in a plan somewhere a lot of times for a grant to work for you or to be eligible for a grant. So it's a little bit of both, but just so you know what we're focused on for the capital budget.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think as far as what you're asking, Andrew, I think the consensus here, and please disagree with me, other committee members, but to keep it as is, to present to the council at this juncture in time. Would that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilmember Harris.
Andrew, I have a possibly stupid question, but let's say money magically dropped out of the sky to reprioritize one of these. Is there the manpower to take on multiple projects like this? Or would that also be a constraint in reprioritizing the list?
Yeah, I think when you talk about project delivery or manpower to actually deliver the projects, the TIP is more just a plan of wants and needs. It's the CIP in which we program and fund, in which we understand what are the resources to deliver those projects. So if money magically appeared, typically it would be slated towards those CIP projects. If another project comes into the CIP, then we have that discussion during that budgeting process to say, can we actually deliver what we've actually laid out for the year in that budget? So I know that discussion as far as resources of human capital occurs more in the CIP discussion. If that
I'll
makes
add,
sense.
let me add something to that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, Andrew did a good job describing that. I think if we had money that came to a project that wasn't in the CIP, but it was on the TIP. So somebody came and hey, I've got 5 million, I want to donate to the city to do this project. Well, we'd bring that forward to the council, recommend the project and a budget amendment to, to bring that project into the capital budget. And with that project, we would assign and bring forward the staffing resources or consultant resources needed to deliver the project. Is that what you were getting at, council member?
I just, am trying to understand just the process, if there is a manpower or a scheduling constraint beyond just having the raw dollars.
I can tell you that manpower is not the driver for projects. It's, having the capital resources for, the money to build them. Like Dan said, we can sometimes offset our resources with consultant support, but that's not driving or limiting necessarily the capital delivery to, that's not the biggest thing we need. It's people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to just get a sense, just to explain to the residents, how flexible this thing actually is. In other words, even if there was the money, then how much of a lead time would there be in making any adjustments to this scheduling? So, thank you.
Go ahead, Mayor.
All kidding aside, I can appreciate your questions, Councilmember Harris. The challenge, you got to fund it. Once you fund it, then there are a number of ways the cities can accomplish getting the project done. They can look at their resources. They can look at contracts. Really big projects are usually out of the scope of our immediate team, but we may want to put a project manager on it. We may not have the resource for a project manager, so then we contract for it. And all of those things, the bidding cycles, getting things lined up to make happen, and sometimes the permitting, because they have to come from various state organizations and stuff, all those affect the timeline. So I hate to muddy the water, but I can tell you that beneath the surface of the mud here is more mud, and it's just getting through the process. But it's all driven by the available funding.
Yeah. The other clarification is, I would assume a lot of this area, because of the Shoreline Management Act and so forth, is probably requires a few more environmental reviews and such, so forth. Would that be a true statement or something of it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where the project is at. I mean, if you're within 200 feet of the water, yeah, you've opened up a whole nother series of permitting type of requirements, and the closer you are to the water, the worse it gets. So those are some of the things we think about, but I think the point here is just if there's money for a project that's not in the CIP, we can add it into the CIP if the council directs us to do that.
Yeah.
That's what we would do.
Well, so as a committee, because I want to move on to the next subject for time, would you all agree that we keep it as is and move it to the council?
You shackled me a little bit, Deputy Mayor Mahoney. You told me to you said council members disagree with you. But I don't want to. What I'm telling you is I agree, but you told me to disagree with you. This is a dilemma I have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. How about a motion to move this forward to the council as a whole, as is?
I would agree that we move it forward.
Okay. And that's seconded by Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Thank you. All right. With that, was there anything else, Andrew, you wanted to add to the TIP before we move to the next subject?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. With that being said, I moved to the next subject, which is an update on the sound transit. And I'm not sure which one of these has it, but I give the floor.
Brandon and I will take this. The project continues to move along at a pretty good clip at this point. We had a interagency work group meeting on Tuesday this week, and it was interesting because they have Kiewit now has what did they say, well over 300 craftspeople employed on the Federal Way Link extension, and they're coming to a point where Sound Transit's estimating over the next year that they'll be spending $30 to $50 million a month in cash flow on the improvement. So that gives you a sense of the magnitude of what's going on between SeaTac and Federal Way. I mean, that is a lot of cash flow to manage. So there's a lot going on. By and large, things are still going well in our agency. You know, we've had some hiccups with some multifamily demolition work that's been going on and some permitting around that and relocations this last week and a half. But we've been working with Sound Transit and Kiewit on that to resolve those issues, and that seems to be heading in the right direction at this point. But one of the things coming up, and I want Brandon to maybe kind of let you guys know about a road closure that's going to be happening here soon on 2/16, and some work we've been coordinating on with the contractor there.
So as you are aware, the alignment, as it's coming down along I-5, it goes underneath 2/16, and so even in the development agreement, that was the way it was proposed. We fought really hard at-grade crossing there. That was at one time on the table, but Sound Transit needs to essentially tunnel under 2/16. And during the development agreement, we had worked out a long weekend type closure. But as the project has developed, we had some backfill concerns when a project or an intense amount of work is to be done that quick. And then as well, the DOT is going to be coming back over with a new bridge when they begin their work. Sound Transit came to the team or Kiewit did and wanted to engage us about a longer term closure to do a little bit different type of fix, if you will, or structure that would provide better backfill, better support. There's utilities that run through there, and just an overall better product for everyone. And so we were agreeable to that. We're looking at a closure of 2/16 in the summer. Right now, it's a tentative July 19th date, and it's going to be pretty intense, longer work hours than just your normal 7 to 3. But the contractor will work to get that reopened in about 4 to 5 weeks. And as well, due to the impact of the public, we part of the right-of-way requirements was just a bit more extensive pavement repair on 2/16. You'll see new pavement all the way down to Pacific Highway, and that'll get repaved while it's closed. So a little bit of pain, but I think the end product will be beneficial to all, as well as it'll really reduce our concerns about proper backfill and control on that backfill while they build that. It'll be like a box culvert, but poured on site instead of bringing something in a quick time frame. So look for that. There'll be plenty of notice. The residents will be notified. We'll have we required plenty of advance notice, but I just wanted to give you a heads up because that's a pretty significant closure
Okay.
coming up.
2 questions real quick.
Mhm.
I assume from probably the residents that access 2/16, they'll be able to still get down to Pack
Yeah.
Highway during the process.
Yep, local access allowed through that process. Yeah.
And based on what you said, they would shut it down on July 19th and probably be through the 4th week of August was when they plan on opening.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
mid-August, sometime around August 20th. So just about 5 weeks, I think, is what we were looking at. I'm going to the calendar, but yeah, just under 5 weeks.
The other thing we've told them too, a couple other points, that they've got some other closures at Kent Des Moines Road coming up, not nearly as extensive, but we've told them that you can't close KDM at all when you have a full closure at 216th. So they're coordinating some of the construction phasing to make sure that we've got not just Kent Des Moines Road, but 272nd and 200th up in SeaTac are going to be open during this closure. So we're coordinating with other agencies on that as well.
As well as in I don't know the status of the Waterland Parade, but if that were a go in some modified format, in person, I think that date, we wanted to make sure we were outside that date as well. I think that would be July 18th, the Saturday.
It's
It's gonna
July.
be the
Or 17th.
24th, the 24th,
Oh,
and
is-
25th, but it's gonna be a virtual parade.
Oh, is it virtual? Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, we won't have the
Okay,
traditional parade this year again, so you don't have to worry
okay.
about that.
So how far west is the street going to be blocked off?
To non-local traffic, at Pack Highway. So unless you're local traffic, that intersection will essentially act like a T intersection, and that will also be the point where we'll see new pavement when it's reopened. And right now, if you've driven that, you notice coming westbound, it's a little bumpy as you come to the signal at 99.
Okay, so you can still go down to 188th or whatever it is to get onto I-5 or?
Yeah, there'll be detour routing, and we did have conversations with CTEC so that they're at least aware and on board with this, because the detouring will take you over to 200th or KDM and using military.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Dan, that you want to with the OMF facility? I know the EIS on the maintenance facility
Yeah, the EIS.
comment period
work on the,
closed. Yeah.
Maintenance facility comments have been submitted on that. I think that the board will consider in July. They'll select a project to build. Sound Transit is going through their realignment process, they're calling it, to kind of respond to the economic downturn because of COVID. And the increase in costs in materials and real estate in particular is kind of hitting a lot of the ST3 projects. The good news for us is the Federal Link extension is not impacted. The operation and maintenance facility is impacted to the extent that it's going to need additional funding, but it is still shown in their tier 1 priority of improvements that'll be recommended to the board. So they're going to do what they can to move forward with that. Still, we're talking, several years out before that gets developed. Sound Transit also has they're seeking comments on a TOD, transit-oriented development around the Highline Station. And so we're going to provide some comments on that. We've forwarded that to a number of constituents as well. Sound Transit has sent that out. So anyway, those are some of the quick highlights on that project at this point.
Dan, one other thing. So the International 99, 509, and Sound Transit crossing over, how's that piece of the construction going?
Up in SeaTac there?
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as I know, that's proceeding well. I haven't heard any issues there. It's been several weeks since I got an update on the column work and foundations. I'll make a note to get an update on that, but they're significantly down the line as far as getting out of the ground, so to speak. And so as soon as you can get a lot of that foundation work done and get out of the ground, the risk profile drops significantly on the project. So they had made a really good progress as of about a month ago, and I'm sure they've made more progress now. So things are rocking and rolling for sure. So it's good. They're making good progress.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anything for the good of the order before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, staff, for all your hard work.
Thank you. Excellent stuff.